Hello, Edumagicians. Welcome to the Edumagic Podcast with your host, Dr. Sam Fessich. Dr. Sam is a professor of education, author of Edumagic, and a pumpkin spice latte fan. This podcast is designed for pre-service teachers. Remember, friends, teaching doesn't begin at graduation, but during that first class at 8 a.m. Let's get this party started.
I'm Josh Swartz.
And I'm William Illingworth,
hosts of the High Tech Podcast, a part of the Education Podcast Network, just like the show you're listening to now.
Shows on the network are individually owned, and opinions expressed may not reflect others.
Find other interesting education podcasts at edupodcastnetwork.com.
Hello, Edumagicians, and welcome back to another episode of the Edumagic Podcast. My name is Dr. Sam Fessich, and today I have an amazing guest talking all about alt ed. If you're interested in this topic, turn it up, get some notes going. And if you're thinking about, hey, I might want to try alternative education, you're going to get some tips and strategies in this episode. Alexis Arias, I'd like to welcome you to the show. Welcome to Edumagic.
Hello, thank you. I'm so happy to be here finally. I know we've been trying to make it happen, so I'm really glad that we get to do this now. Thank you.
Yes, today is the day.
Yeah.
All right, Alexis, would you mind starting us off with your teaching story? What brought you into education and what keeps you coming back?
Okay, so when I was always being coached and trained in whatever sports, as a youth that I was doing at the time, I literally remember hearing the instructions from the coach, from the instructor, and in my mind, trying to revise how I would have given those instructions, how I would explain it to another kid, or like just interpreting their instructions, right? And then trying to revise them to improve or just to continue, teaching someone else. And I think those memories are really what later on kind of connected, I was always wanting to reteach, right? Or to pass on the lessons. And so I initially got into coaching at 19, 20 years old. God bless those, administrators who are like, sure, you can have keys to the gym, and sure, you can have, be the chaperone, be the adult on the bus, because those positions helped me to understand the responsibility. And then, of course, on a scale to a big degree, I think, reteach and practice my voice and practice, the reteaching strategies, even at 1920 that I didn't know were teaching strategies, right?
Right.
And then, so as I was in college at the same time, I was getting kind of a liberal arts, not really sure. And then at just some point, it decided, okay, I want the English major. I'm going to go down that path. And then I got a job as a para-ed for 2 years with a boy who was autistic. And I thought, this is wonderful. This is, again, good practice at what the future me wants to do now. Because at this point, it was like, okay, yes, I do want to teach so that I could coach. I was still constantly coaching. And so I thought that's a great place to, be able to do both. And then, after I did 2 years there, I graduated with my bachelor's, and there was a local district that was bringing in new hires as fast as they could. And thankfully, I got in. I started as an intern at I think I was doing a 7th grade class. It was 7th and 8th grade middle school. And I was doing their 7th as I had a full class load, as with the understanding that I would still go to my credentialing classes, of course.
Sure.
So I was a intern with my, here you go teach. And I remember saying no, literally, I just graduated. Is this real life? Are you sure you're supposed to do this? Again, thank goodness for those administrators again, who are like, we see something, you can do this.
Yes.
Now go do it, and maybe they were a little desperate too, but
let's go with the first option.
That I really wowed them at, 24 years old. And so then I did middle school for 6 years. I feel like it was just recently, but then I transitioned to high school, traditional high school for 2 years. And sometime later, or 2 years after that, I came over to alternative ed.
Okay, let's
Ever since, yeah.
let's get our story going from here. So, what is alternative education, and why is it an important thing for future teachers to know about, and why is it an important placement for students?
Okay. So, what is alternative ed first? It is a system of education designed to be offered to students whose needs aren't met or are underserved within the traditional school system. These can be school sites like ours is. They could be just a system that's run from the district offices. They could be, of course, run at home, right? Where in unison or in cooperation with. So we have modifications here on campus. There are limitations to how big or how many students we can, our class sizes can be. Our site as well has capacity, and then which has to be kept. We have modifications within our school hours, our school schedule. Our A through G requirements may differ in what we offer versus the traditional school. So there might be some differences there, might not. There might be, everything that you would get A through G eligibility wise from traditional school and here.
So why is it important for students, like future teachers, to know about these types of educational opportunities for students in alternative ed?
It's really important to open their understanding for future teachers to open up their understanding to alternative ed sites, because it provides an understanding for you as that young teacher that not everyone is meant for the traditional classroom experience. When you're first going into, and on both perspectives, both from the teacher perspective and from the student perspective, when you're first going into teaching, I know for sure I wasn't very aware of all the ways in which you can be a teacher, right?
Yes.
It's very just one-sided, or there's just that one carbon copy in our minds of what a teacher is, you versus 46 kids or 36 kids or however many, right? That's the one perspective. And we don't start seeing the different capacities for which we can be a teacher until year 4, 5, 6 later on. And so I think as new teachers coming into the profession, understanding their awareness or opening their awareness to the different capacities and different types of teachers that you can be and the different students you could reach is really important to getting yourself out there and knowing what our options are.
Yes, I think you stated that beautifully. There's not just one view of teaching. There's a lot you can do with your teaching degree, including alternative education. Now, I am a super fan of yours over on Instagram, and we'll share a little bit later where my listeners can connect with you. But you recently did a reel or a story about misconceptions in alternative education. Would you mind sharing just a few of those misconceptions and then clearing those up?
Yeah, it's a lot of negative misconceptions. There's a lot of negative misconceptions with alternative ed, both, again, the students that attend our type of school and the teachers. I mainly use my Instagram platform to try to dismantle a lot of the more commonly negative ones that we see. I know that generationally, I feel like this is where they come from. Historically, these negative stereotypes exist because somebody's grandma or somebody's uncle who's 50, went to an alternative site or whatever it may be, and they remember hearing about fights and they remember seeing, the trouble kids and whatnot. And all of that is continuing to be passed on and to be spoken. And that's not the case at all. These kids, there's so much that is alleviated. there's so much behaviors that I really don't deal with because a lot of it is alleviated with a smaller class size, a modified schedule, a more
Yes.
one-on-one connection with the teacher, less stressors with peer pressure. Like all of these factors, I think are so unspoken for or so unknown of. I don't think people know that all of these factors have these positive effects on what our current environment is like now. And so the misconceptions that still exist are, that our kids are here because it's against their will, that they're here because against their will, that they are here because they are so troubled, that they're here because they've got into so many fights and that we must be angels, working with these kids or saints. Or, that we have terrible days because of working with these kids. And it's just so not the reality that I want us to actually have. There's the misconception that our kids aren't capable, that they don't have the skill sets, that there are so many grade levels behind. And yes, that's the case, for some. And where's that not the case, though?
Right.
Why is it just here that all of a sudden now all of our 100% of our population has to have these problems? Like, no, that's not the case at all.
Exactly. I'm so glad you started with those misconceptions and then immediately just dispelled them left and right. So for our students that are listening, our future teachers that are listening today, what are some best practices that you have done in your classroom that has supported your students? Or if you want to answer it from a different perspective, what are some tips you have for future teachers that are interested in alternative education as a career?
Yeah, for future teachers, I actually really give the advice to get into traditional school experience first, teaching at a traditional school site, because those practices, those struggles, those realities need to be brought with you. You really need to bring those in here in order to understand what changes you can make for these students, what they're coming from, and what other teachers are seeing as well. Because I totally 100% completely, I can't emphasize this enough, because I think sometimes as me being on alt ed platform, alt ed's great, da da da. I think people forget that I forgot, or people think, or have the perception that I've forgotten what it's like at a traditional school site. And I very
have that experience.
Yeah. And I very much want to say, no, I really do remember. I have complete understanding and perspective of your struggles. And so for future teachers, again, wanting to come into an alternative school site, I can't advise it anymore that go get yourself that experience. Go face those struggles that everyday teachers, the majority of teachers, are dealing with. And come here, go see what those kids are put through. Go see what those kids are dealing with, and try to sit in that and try to bring that with you if you're ever going to come to an alternative ed site. Because knowing what the kids need and what you can do as a teacher now with all of these modifications you're allowed is where that magic and that opportunity happens. And if you let go of that opportunity, well, then you should have never came here.
Right.
Right. And as cruel as that might sound, don't come here. No, that's not at all. Right.
No.
But you're really not doing the system, the alternative ed system, a service, nor yourself a service, if you come here without that understanding of, look at what I can do now. Look at what I can give them now. Here's what they need, because I know they didn't get it back at the traditional school. I was there. I understand the complexities. I understand the systematic failures that were holding them or whatever, right? Keeping them away from their possibilities. But now that I look around and I am in this alt ed site, whether it be 6 years, 12 years into your profession, whatever, now that you're here, and you look around, and you see all of, wait, I can do this. Wait, I only have 15 kids in my classroom. Wait, they're only here, during the day for 6 hours instead of 7 to 8 hours. Like all of these things that you're going to appreciate more and want to do something with because of that appreciation and understanding.
Yes. Yes, that was awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I would also suggest for our pre-service teachers that are in fields, if you could go in and possibly observe at an alternative education site just as something different, just to see what it's all about. So if you're interested at all in alternative education, go observe, go see what it's about during your college career as well. It can really help you with that career exploration.
Yeah, for sure. Because I know I'm not the only alt ed teacher here. I mean, I have neighbor, teachers here on site that I look up to them as teachers. I admire the skills and lessons that they provide for students, and that amps me up. That gets me excited. Like, wow, she's not holding back. And then going back to misconceptions, I think a lot of old passed on misconceptions that are still carrying on, are that teachers come here to retire, teachers come here to, quote, have it easy. I legitimately remember there was a substitute who I had seen at my traditional site, and then the next year she saw me, I saw her here on campus. And we had recognized, I made a switch, right? I got a new position and a new site. She said to me, wow, you really got an easier gig for yourself. You really took the way out. It was something about easy, right? I word for word, but the sentiment was that I gave myself a cushion job. I gave myself something I could sit back and relax and put my feet up all day.
That's the dream, but not the reality.
And I said, well, you can come into my class and see for yourself, because the way I do it, it's not easy. I don't know what you might think is happening, but not the way I teach. So you're welcome to come in. And so that's another misconception. And for future teachers, that would be great for them to see and be inspired by as well, is that there are teachers here on campus like me who's on alternative ed campuses that see the opportunities. And we're taking full advantage of it. We're we're trying to get to all the opportunities, without losing them.
Right.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about your Instagram platform throughout today's episode. Would you be able to share with my listeners how they can connect with you if they have questions regarding alternative education, or just to check out all the awesome content that you're posting like I do?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. Unfortunately, right now, that is my only platform. I'm really trying to get on, a bigger base, like a website, of course, and try to move forward that way. But right now, yes, I can be found at Welcome to Alt Ed, where, again, I try to provide this perspective, provide this understanding for both the students' needs as well as teacher needs here at an alternative ed site. I really try to provide a little bit of glimpse into what our lessons are like here and how they don't differ much from what you might be seeing from the traditional school teachers. So that you can get that understanding. Like, I can still do all these really fun and energetic and deep and high rigorous lessons, even at an alt ed site, and the kids can live up to that. So I really try to provide all of that on my Instagram page for now, but I hope to be growing, of course. Yes. And then I do have a link tree there where if and when eventually I get my website up, I can link it there.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I'll make sure I put that in the show notes as well. Alexis, this has been a fantastic conversation. We talked all about alternative education, misconceptions related to alternative education, some ways for future teachers to get involved or who are thinking about this as a career exploration, and also how to connect with you. This has been such a fun episode. I was jotting down all kinds of notes over here on my notebook, which you can't see, but I have them over here. They are really great gems. Thank you so much for your time today. And I appreciate you and all the work that you do as an advocate for alternative education.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you very much. And again, you're doing as well good work for giving these future teachers a perspective from all angles, because if we think back, right, again, when we go into teaching, we don't really understand. We think we understand, right? We think we know what we're getting ourselves into.
Right.
But the more we can widen that understanding and really see for ourselves more and more of the different ways we can go forward in this teaching process, the better. So it's really, I'm really happy that you have this platform as well for future teachers. Thank you for having me on. Yes.
Absolutely.
All right.
And there you have it, EduMagicians. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and share it with your friends. For more EduMagic, check out sfessage.com and follow Dr. Sam on Twitter and Instagram @sfessage. Until next time, you have the EduMagic within you.